What's up, Rockstars? How's it going? Today I have another Kickstarter news video for you. There's some new Kickstarters that I'll be covering today. There's some upcoming ones that now have some dates and some upcoming ones I didn't even know about before. So there's plenty of new stuff, plenty of updates, plenty to talk about. Let's get to it. Now, as always, I'd like to start out with a quick thank you to my YouTube members and patrons. It is through their financial support that I am able to remain independent, so that I do not accept any money from any game company, so that any opinion I give you does not come from my wallet, but instead comes from how I honestly feel. If you appreciate that and can help, there is a link down below to both of those. However, if you can't, that's fine too. You can simply like and subscribe or share or comment. Anything like that obviously helps. There's also a merch link and an Amazon link down below if you wish to use either of those. Without further ado, let's actually jump into the video. Okay, so I didn't jump, I scooted forward, but whatever. Okay, so starting out, I want to talk about the Warp board game. I talked about this a while ago and then kept forgetting to talk about it, and I do apologize for that. Luckily, it's all 16 days to go, so it's plenty of time to do. It has almost reached its goal, which tells me that I think it will, unless something terrible goes wrong. I don't see why it wouldn't, just because I know those last 2 days are pretty good too, and again, 16 days is still plenty. It is kind of your typical sci-fi 4X game you see a lot of, but I do see some things that are kind of nice. By the way, if you didn't know what 4X is, they don't always explain this. It's explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. There's a lot of video games that follow that as well. And in fact, this one, and one of the reasons I first mentioned it is because it kind of gave me a Galactic Civilizations vibe, and I grew up playing Galactic Civilizations, especially Galactic Civilizations 2 a lot, and creating my own race and doing all that sort of stuff. So I was instantly kind of drawn in actually by the art style because of that. A little history there. But another kind of nice thing is it has a solo campaign mode, which is not something you always see. And I know a lot of you guys are solo gamers, so I wanted to kind of point you to this, as I think that's a worthwhile thing, especially because it's not like a normal solo game that you would normally play, which is pretty cool, I think. They definitely have some kind of Kickstarter value stuff here, and I've only sort of perused it. Like, I already told you how much I like this image, so I like that it's one of the first images you see. I just like people gathered around a board game playing and having fun. That's all you need. You don't need a cell phone, you don't need a TV or a tablet or anything. You just need maybe some drinks, maybe some snacks. Looks like they're snack free, and a wonderful board game and some friends and family, and I think you're golden. So I love that picture. I'll pause every time and comment on it. I actually like the sizes of the miniatures in this game. I think it maybe looks a little busy. I think it makes it look cool, especially if it'd be painted. A lot of times when you get these, they're really tiny miniatures because there's like a bajillion of them. And while there's quite a few, there's not like an exorbitant amount, which is another thing I kind of like just glancing at this. The fact that this is what you get, I think is great. A lot of times you see these 4X games and they are like, they make Twilight Imperium look small, right? I mean, they're like, you get hundreds and hundreds of these little tiny ships and doodads and gems and tokens and dice and all sorts of stuff. So I like that it's sub $100, and I think it looks nice and dense in a good way. When it comes to the miniatures on there, you can have multiple, so you can have like these mining centers and guns and ships and all sorts of stuff like that. It just looks nice. 6 players is probably a little busy, but you're playing with 6 people, so, it's whatever. Anyway, wanted to point you to that. Again, this and everything I'm talking about is linked down below, so if you see anything that looks interesting, you can just scroll right on down there, and there'll be a link conveniently there for you so that you can follow that. Okay, moving on. This will be a fun one. Okay, this is the canceled game. This is Harry Potter Catch the Snitch, a Wizard Sports board game, canceled. It wasn't part of the name, but it is now. It's by Night Games. If you don't know, they do a miniature line of like tabletop wargaming, skirmish gaming kind of stuff. They have Batman miniature line, some great miniatures there, very expensive, some cool terrain and the use of terrain in that one. From what I can tell, they have a Harry Potter one. I don't care as much about the IP. I was maybe just a little past the Harry Potter stage for me to like really dive in and get into it. But anyway, they canceled this one. And well, first let's read why they say they canceled it, and I'll tell you why they really canceled it. So, Kickstarter campaign delayed. It's posted on November 5th. This is great. The current situation of uncertainty in the world derived from the electoral campaign in the United States is negatively affecting our Kickstarter. That's right. People don't know. Is it going to be Trump? Who knows? I don't know. I can't back Harry Potter right now. It's generating many technical problems on the web and freezing our communication strategy plan. First of all, props to you for having a communication strategy plan. That's special. All social networks and platforms are having considerably less traffic, which has... Oh, so wait, it's freezing it because people aren't on the internet? Or anyway... which has a very negative impact on advertising campaigns. This implies that they are not having the scope that they would have in a normal situation. We understand the concern and anxiety this is causing in the North American people. I'm okay. And we stand in solidarity with the poor guys having a vote. Therefore, we think it's best to postpone the Kickstarter campaign. That's right. There's an election. So every 4 years, expect all these canceled and delayed Kickstarters because the internet died because America's voting on a new president. The gravity of the current situation forces us to take this pause and able to come out stronger. Now, I'm going to spare you all the comments laughing at them about how this is not the reason why, but I'll go on and tell you why. So this is actually a great teaching point. If you make board games, if you are planning on launching a Kickstarter, listen to this. I cannot stress this enough. When you make a game, regardless of IP, the value has to be there. When you first launch it, it has to have that value. It can't make that value through add-ons. It can't make that value through stretch goals. It needs to be there day one, or you're going to falter and you're going to stumble and you're going to have to change your plans and do some stuff and give away something free that you didn't plan to, or whatever it is to add that value. And that's only if you react fast enough. Again, you have that first 2 days to get the majority of your backing is in those first 2 days. So if those first 2 days don't look freaking sweet, then it doesn't matter as much if it looks cool 2 weeks from now. One of the ways to have value if you have an IP is to have the IP in there. So what did they do? They launched this and Harry Potter is on the box, but he ain't in your game. No siree. They pulled, and now it is funny that this doesn't work for Kickstarter, but Fantasy Flight Games does this all the time with like Imperial Assault and whatnot. But either way, in fact, specifically Boba Fett, you don't get it when he's on the box. Like you buy the Jabba's Palace expansion thing and it has Boba Fett like right there. He's not in the box. You get him separate. But retail is crappy anyway. That's why we're not talking about retail. Retail sucks and they're for chumps. We back Kickstarter games for real value. Anyway, so yeah, don't put Harry Potter, its name and face on there and not include him in the box. Instead, he was part of a $30 add-on right here. There he is. There's Harry Potter. Now you can get him for just, well, not $30, 30 euros, so even worse. So yeah, in fact, that's where you get that's where you get Ron and everybody else that you want. And all the named people are in this expansion. Otherwise, you get a bunch of no-name people that nobody cares about here. But hey, look at that. They're different colors, I guess. They're just random people. So yeah, that's dumb. Don't sell a Harry Potter game without Harry Potter and have it as an add-on. But don't worry, they did relaunch it. And right here, big old bold right up front, they know Harry Potter miniature included. The fact that they have to call that out because they didn't offer him before is hilarious. So now you actually get Harry Potter in the Harry Potter game. Imagine that. So that's the issue there. Anyway, it is included now, and this is funded technically, so it's going up. I didn't look past the laughable excuse, which was hilarious, and the amateur thing of trying to sell you Harry Potter and not giving you Harry Potter in the Harry Potter board game. But now that that's, he looks like Robin there, by the way. Now that that's passed, maybe there's a good board game here. I don't know. You're free to look at it, or snicker at their excuses in their old one. I just think that's funny. And a great teaching moment for you. It's like if Conan launched without Conan. It's like, why would you do that? Or Batman without Batman, or, you know, any of these, like, IP games without the IP person there. It's like, what do you lose the value of the IP if you don't use it. Put it in there. Silly corporations and their desire for money. All right, next, Bardsung. So I am a pledger of this. I actually have already played a little bit of Bardsung and I interviewed them. That video is coming next week. I gotta edit it and, kind of make it look nice. So I'll get that out to you guys, but there's some good information there. I've talked a little bit about it already. I have a details video. I'll go ahead and link that below as well. It kind of just tells you about boss fights and the kind of campaign deck and stuff like that. Just very general, high level. Here's the game and kind of what it has to offer. Which I think is pretty cool. One of the cool things that it's added that I don't think I mentioned in my old video, in fact, I don't know if it was out yet or not, is I really appreciate the RPG mechanics. So I think I talked a little bit about the riddles and puzzles and stuff that you might get in there. But the fact that if I scroll down here, maybe he's even up here. Yeah, this guy right here. So we unlocked a Goblin Thief roaming monster. So, in something like Massive Darkness 2 or something like that, like it's so focused on combat only that it the RPG part kind of dies, except for perhaps like character leveling, right? Whereas, here, one of the nice things about it is that you kind of get that more authentic RPG feel. And so for instance, they have a roaming monster, like this Goblin Thief. He's super easy to kill. He's not very strong. But he will sneak up to you, steal your crap, and then run away. And so that is kind of that RPG thing where it's like, first of all, it's creating a story opportunity, which I think is really cool. But then it's like, okay, do you go chase after him and split up the party? Do you all divert and just take longer and risk that? Or, the example I had in my head is like, if my buddy had all of his armor stolen and then chases him down naked and he runs into a room and a whole bunch of enemies there. And I'm thinking like Han Solo from A New Hope when he's screaming at the stormtroopers, turns around, there's all the stormtroopers there and he runs back out. I can see that playing in my head, and the idea that a board game can give me that kind of thing where months later I can be like, hey dude, do you remember when you like chased that goblin naked across the dungeon and rented all those enemies? Like that is awesome and definitely something I'm looking forward to. I think that's super cool. And they have like animal people, so you can play like a frog dude, which is super duper cool. A turtle dude, sorry. Though I think they teased the frog dude too. And another thing about by the way, they added wolves. Love wolves. Wolves and knights, that's what I'm all about here. Yeah, they have like Ian Livingstone. Like they have some really big name drops here when it comes to RPG goodness. So I think that's really, really cool that they're focused so much on making a dungeon crawl RPG and not just a dungeon crawl hack and slash. I really actually appreciate that. I think it definitely excites me, I think, more than anything. Plus the boss fight mechanic stuff, so which I explain in my video. So moving on from that, that's live right now. We have a Burncycle. Burncycle is I don't know, and here's why. So some more feedback. Again, I offer this free of charge. You're welcome, Josh and Adam Carlson, and you're welcome to anybody else who's watching. So, not only does it need to have, so a consumer perspective, or somebody like me, especially this time of year, there are a lot of Kickstarters, and I'm looking at a whole bunch of them. I'm viewing 5+ campaign pages on like one day because you guys all launch on like a Tuesday because the stats say that's when you do it, so that's when you do it or whatever. So it's like it launches and suddenly it's like a whole bunch of like stuff, and we just have to go through and click on, okay, Burncycle, what's Burncycle? Okay, Bardsung, what's Bardsung? This Harry Potter game, what the heck? There's no Harry Potter. What in the world? Oh, there's an election. Never mind. Of course they can't fund. Anyway, with that in mind, with the consumer in mind and kind of our scenario and what we're doing here, and just kind of our valuing our time here. So first of all, like this is this is a large waste of space here, right? So there's like when it comes to scroll, like here's the game finally down here, and then all of this is just BS, which I think is hilarious. Even how they like list the components are like really long, which is kind of a bummer, and it's a little annoying that it lists like every single one individually, like times one. It's like just say how many you get and then show a picture of a collage of them. Like you don't need to. You get this waste room and this doorway and these stairs and you also get a restroom. It's like I don't care if it's a restroom. Just tell me you get how many room tiles you get. Anyway, so there's that kind of oddity. Then they go into like some background lore, and then they have some gameplay basics. But the gameplay basics is 19 paragraphs and 2 videos. I mean, literally, like, just paragraph after paragraph after... Like, this is not basics. This is detailed. I need a higher level than this, please. It's still going. This is still the basics of the game. I don't have time to read all of this. And now, finally, we're back to, I guess more lore. So then we're into more lore, and it goes... Every single character gets 1 paragraph, and then each corporation is what we're going to go to... Oh, no, okay, they changed it. So they had the corporations, but now they're actually giving pledge levels, which is nice, and add-ons. That's cool. Before there was like the corporation info, and it was like each corporation had 2 paragraphs. I don't even see that anymore, so they got rid of it. So I'm glad they're changing things up a little bit. Still though, 19 paragraphs, I'm not reading to figure out how to play your game. Like, show me high level. And the video doesn't show you either. The video, I mean, this thing just is just lore about the campaign and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't tell me how I play this game. So that's the kind of bummer. As I run a channel, and because I'm looking at so much stuff, I don't have time. I don't know how to play Burncycle. I can't tell you what it's like. If you know what it's like and you think, or if you think it looks interesting and you have the time to read 19 paragraphs on this page, there is a link down below and you can find out. But it is really unfortunate that I can't just get a quick elevator pitch. Like, you need that elevator pitch. You need that. I have 30 seconds. How can I make this game look interesting to you? How can I tell you about what I'm offering? And not just have it pretty pictures or, random, whatever junk this is. Like just tell me how your game plays, and then I can dive in, right? Then I can watch the video. Then I can read the detailed explanation. Then I can read the draft rule book. Then I can watch then I can dive in. Once I know, okay, this is worth my investment, I want to come back to it. I'll literally open up all these when it opens, and then I'll read a little bit, and then I'll come back and read more of the ones that interested me. And you'll see that when I cover it. Sometimes I'll have light information, sometimes I'll have heavy information about the game. Depends on how much I read into it. And that all depends on if they hook me or not. But to hook me, you're not hooking me with 19 paragraphs. Trim that stuff down. It's available though. Next up, the Zodiac War by Yadro models. These are really good. They look nice, and there's a wide variety. There's 30mm, 70mm, and busts. So they have quite a few here, and some great designs. They have some I would love to paint, and some that freak me out. Maybe I'll explain that a little bit. And the prices seem average. I mean, it's normal Kickstarter resin, high quality stuff. If you have not painted a resin miniature at a large scale, and you are a painter, whatever it is, whatever miniature calls to you, if you ever get a chance to really do it, and if I was ever going to, I'd pick that one. Go ahead and, I know it's expensive, spend the money and just try it. You'll be amazed at the awesome experience that it is when it's that big and that high quality. And it's a whole different experience than painting, these little miniatures. It really is. This guy I don't really care too much about. She's okay, but fairly static. But I do like the wing shape on that one. My favorite one here, I'll go and show you my favorite one. Just because this dude right here, but not his full body thing, though he is roided up, to a ridiculous level. I love his bust. I would love to paint that, but that is a sweet lion bust. I can just see that on a nice plinth, just looking freaking sweet. That is a fantastic, I wish this was an STL so I could print them out right now. The horse one, definitely not my thing. There's a whole bunch, right? A whole bunch, and some are cool, some are not. One thing that's she's pretty cool too. She reminds me of the Ragnarok person that's coming up here. Anyway, lots of stuff. So that is here, and they've unlocked again quite a bit, and they still have more. So that's cool. He's Leo. The Leo bust is where it's at, in my opinion. Moving on, Neo-Morphosis Infestation is still going on, has a little bit less than a week left, especially at the time of posting. They've been unlocking a lot of stretch goals. They've been doing daily unlocks for just more actual game content. Not necessarily the flashy stuff, but actual stuff that you'll use in the game a lot more than the flashy stuff, probably. So I like that they come with 2 bosses right off the bat. That's nice. You get all these Goliath and Birth and all these nasty stuff. The Climber's cool. One of the nice things that I thought is nice is just the fact that they're doing the component tray, and they're doing the bases and making those nice. And I appreciate kind of that level. I like the premium quality of Kickstarter stuff, so that's really appreciated. Additionally, they did add Nyx from Madara. She is in every game imaginable, it seems. She is probably the most pervasive crossover I have ever seen. No joke, I've seen her in I think more campaigns that I follow in a way than anything else I've seen. So congrats to Madara on that Nyx is so popular. That's your Crash Bandicoot of the game, I feel like. And this is definitely a unique version of her too. Okay, so why... And I'm a backer, by the way. I think it looks fun, and I'm looking forward to playing it. Why is it sitting only 219,000? Why isn't it more, right? Well, first of all, there is a lot of competition, right? But Dark Souls or Dark Rituals has not been fulfilled quite yet, and it's unfortunate because it's so close. Because actually, they have an update here. Fulfillment dates: Quartermasters or U.S. Hub, and they've confirmed they are ready to begin fulfillment on November 16th. That is freaking soon. I will be happy. I love like Dark Rituals, like that theme is where it's at. I'm digging that. And I'm digging the whole, like one versus many style. I love that. And so many companies are just going full co-op and not doing one versus many anymore. So I'm excited to kind of actually play that again, especially with a grim dark fantasy game. Oh yeah, I'm all about that. It is unfortunate that it couldn't have waited like a month. It really is. I really wish they would have, because I feel like people are going to get Dark Rituals, ideally love Dark Rituals, and that hype can take you so many places. We talked about Madara, right? That's what Madara did. Madara was like way late and like it was like kind of a crappy situation. And then they finally delivered and people were like, wow, this is an awesome game. I want more. And then guess what? On Kickstarter, Madara 1.5. Bam, there you go. Waiting to ride the hype of a delivery is like, it's like wasting money. It's like you get it for free just by being awesome and making great games. If you think you make great games, make a game, deliver it, launch it, and then there you go. Bam, you're done. That's all you need. So I really wish they would have been able to wait just a month. I understand it may have not been possible because they had already tried once, and I know it's hard to like. I even talked to the Osorn guys kind of about this. Like, it's hard to run a company and not be selling a product actively, right? I mean, ideally, your PM kind of carries a little bit, right? But anyway, it's unfortunate because they were so close to riding that hype wave, and I feel like it would have been a lot different if people had gotten a super cool game in the mail and then found out that the people who made the super cool game are making another one. Again, it's the freest advertisement you can get. Okay, anyway, but that is good news. So November 16th, and then Games to Us by coincidence in Europe also November 16th. So I think the only one is the Asia hub, which I don't really know too much about that, but either way, we will be getting our game soon, and that is awesome. Coming up stuff, we have Rapture Tabletop. So what is this game? Well, I don't know, so I had to go look it up, but it's by Gravity Bay. I think it's their first creation. But like, I was looking at like these aliens look, or the angels, not aliens, look super cool, and I dig the style here. Like, it's a very sleek sci-fi, which I appreciate. We got some cards. What's going on here? November 16th, by the way, so it's coming out soon. Well, let's look at their Facebook, and oh my gosh. Okay, so Massive Darkness 2 had these kind of like techno angels, right? They had like the hexagonal like faces, like they're from Deus Ex Machina or something like that. These look freaking sweet. Definitely unique, super gold, that's for sure, but definitely like stylized, and just kind of like this guy floating there on his like staff and wings, and this guy almost sideways. I dig that. I think that looked awesome. And there's some like here's like a fish knight dude Spartan person thing going on. Like, there's some unique stuff going on here that I really dig. Like, it just looks unique. There's a lot of like spam and stuff too, but like what is going on here? That is interesting. I really dig the style of this game. I think it looks super cool. And for a tabletop skirmish game, it is so much part of it is building your squad or your army, or look at these people. Love it. It's such a big part of it. Here's like he kind of reminds me of the Mystic Battle with Pantheon, Poseidon a little bit, but he's like on a freaking like Kraken with like steampunk stuff coming. Anyway, it looks interesting, so I'm definitely going to be kind of looking into this and following it and seeing kind of how it works and plays, and I'll let you guys know about it. Moving on, we have USS Freedom. This is by Dreamcraft Games. This is coming out Tuesday, November 17th, because we love Tuesdays. And I know a little bit less about this. However, it is the free roaming space stuff that's also cooperative. So it definitely, like, at first glance, I thought it was a typical sci-fi 4X game, but it's not. And so I'm kind of interested to see how this plays, because the art, from what I can tell, looks pretty. And it looks kind of token heavy, though. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I see some miniatures over there, though. Next up, Death Goddess Izanami. This is the Sankokushin model. Some info. First of all, it is going to be 109 euros. That's about 130-ish US dollars. That's for the 140 millimeter, very wide miniature. So that's definitely big. Also, November 17th is when it's coming out. Again, we love Tuesdays. So November 17th is going to have a few things here. Another thing I wanted to show you, there's actually a few. First of all, so here's her, right? 109, 140 millimeters. There's already at least one more, so we are guaranteed to get multiple miniatures in this campaign. While they've been advertising her, they do have others, so that's kind of what those teases were there. Or there's going to be at least one more. I would suspect maybe even two. First of all, seeing this part makes me feel like they just need to make a bust for her. Again, I do love painting busts, just because so much times you want to focus on the face of a miniature, but it's in this huge thing. So to just have a bust is literally just like showing that face and you know, the kind of the style of the character, which I think is kind of cool. So almost sad that we don't get a bust. Maybe we'll unlock one. I don't know, because it's like almost right there. Anyway, and then again, they're teasing some more stuff. Additionally, for when you do back the game in 2021, if you do for Sankokushin 5 Sacrifices, you will get her encounter deck through this. So that I think is also super cool. So you get her plus encounter deck. Sounds awesome. Moving on. Darkest Dungeon. This is still going. All right, then moving on, we have Darkest Dungeon. This finished and it was huge. 5.6 million. Congrats, Mythic, on a very big success there. That's super cool. Though very well painted. I love how they paint their miniatures. This is the stretch goal box. I think it looks really nice. I like it a lot. It kind of reminds me, if you've seen the movie Devil from M. Night Shyamalan, not that I necessarily recommend it, but it has that kind of like, it's the elevator doors that makes like almost like an upside down cross kind of thing. It looks like that. Anyway, I wanted to point out this, and this is one of the great things about Kickstarter, is they had the adder, this adder right here, and people were like, hey, the adder in the game is really big. And they're like, you know what, it is. And so we're going to listen to the feedback and make them bigger. That's cool. That's awesome. Good on you, Mythic, for listening, not only being able to hear and listen and pay attention to what people are saying, but then actually act on it when you can and when it makes sense. And so I think that's awesome that they have the two-headed big adder now. I think that's super cool. So happy to see that, and happy to see a company listening to their backers. I think that's awesome. Next up, we have the King's Armory. This was canceled. This was their second edition. Now, why was it canceled? So this was just one of those things where I suspect the quality just didn't show off the gameplay good enough. But also, it made 75,000, which I feel is pretty good, but they were asking for 124,000. Now, I don't know exactly how successful he's been in the past, but that high level of, I mean, it's 6,000 backers for some random dice, but that looks like it's kind of it. I mean, all of this stuff isn't like huge or anything, right? And so I feel like people need to curb their expectations a little bit. And if you think you need 124, I'm not sure shooting for that is like, I don't know. What is there was only 8 people that bought the core game and 130 returning. So mostly people were returning. Very few people at least got that. It looks like, I don't know how the difference is. Second core game, it's this, okay, that's weird. Anyway, like a handful of people are getting that, and then at 101 at this. How many $90 people do you need to get that, right? I mean, you just gotta have to do the math to us. How expensive your game is, an actual expectation, how many backers you have, and then see if that's workable in a business and a business sense. And if it is, then go for it. If it's not, then you might need to kind of think about doing some other stuff. And I think part of that may be to some outreach or what, I don't know. Looked like an interesting game. The miniatures looked but the game itself looked pretty good. And so I think focusing on that can help. So there's a lot of like focus on the components, which if that's not your strong suit, I wouldn't necessarily do it. Maybe they think it's a strong suit. I don't know. But like I'm scrolling away to get to the game. Okay, here's finally the game way down here. I'd almost bump this up a little bit. Let's show off how awesome your game is. And then you can focus on the the smiley guy. People yelled at me for commenting about how they smile. All right, so then lastly, we have Aeon Trespass Odyssey. Now, this is being delayed until Q2 or beginning of Q3 2021. But the reason why is important, and I wanted to finish on this on purpose because I like that I can kind of give, I can comment on what people are doing right, and I think that's helpful. They're saying here, I would rather take some more time testing the more involved and complex mechanics of the later cycles than release something that would require an extensive balancing errata. That is huge. I cannot stress enough how big that is. So often, and I'm sure you've seen this if you've gotten some Kickstarter games, these Kickstarter games are huge and the stretch goals are massive and all that. My first Kickstarter game I ever got was Massive Darkness. And if you know the story mode of that, the campaign mode of that, you know how tacked on that was. So you get these stretch goals and you get all this scope and all this grander stuff. And then you realize that, especially for a narrative game, people have only playtested at the beginning. Right? You have so much more playtesting in the early stages because you're not spoiling anything, especially because it's not only is normally late game stuff more advanced, but you have to build up there. You can't just start with a fresh character typically. So it's like, but then you have all these decisions that you made, all this leveling and customization that you made. So there's a lot more variability even on how you're entering a certain scenario or something like that, or a certain area. And so it's incredible. It's much harder just in general to play test and make that end part good. And you'll see that in these games as you're playing that. You'll realize like, hey, these later scenarios or this, like I've done it before. I remember I was playing Mythic Battles Pantheon and I played a scenario that was like winnable on one side with like 3 moves. So the other side just didn't stand a chance. It was almost impossible. Like, how did this get through? Well, sure enough, it was not part of the core game. It was added after the fact, and it just didn't get playtested at all, it seems like. But if it did, it didn't have the love and care it needed. It just inherently, because it was part of that extended scope that just is hard to test and work with, and it's just more workload. And, normally when they get to this Kickstarter campaign, they've been playing their game for like forever, right? It's like 3 years in the making, 5 years in the making. But not all these new stretch goal stuff, that's not always done. And so you have a 3 years in the making and play tested the crap out of game, and you're like, oh, and you'll get this new stuff, but this new stuff isn't 3 years in the making. They're not gonna spend 3 years playtesting it. They can't. It's new. And so I think it's awesome that he's focusing and on realizing, hey, these later cycles are more advanced and complex, and they need to be playtested. I am super okay with that. I'd rather a late game that's fantastic than a game that's on time and something I'm just gonna shelve because it's not fantastic. I only have so much time to play board games. So if your game isn't fantastic, it's not going to get the board time. Just because there are fantastic games that I could be playing instead. So that's cool. All right. About that, and they mentioned like COVID and stuff like that. Miniatures look great, of course, but that's to be expected. They have a whole bunch of TTS update and different stuff like that. They revealed a new Titan, the Shadow Dancer. I actually like the miniature more than the art because it kind of makes sense of what's going on more. But that's like, her leg is like, has this giant, it almost looks like a building or something. I don't know what it is, but you have this blade that she's like kicking with, and she has this sword. It's like wrapped in, very dynamic miniature and looks super cool. And then a very unique kind of feather hat, weird turban thing going on there. They showed a theater, which looks super cool. A new god, and this, I love there's one here. Look at this. I love the artwork here. Ashbite. No, thank you. Screw that. Please don't eat me. The art's super cool. They showed a whole bunch of stuff, which was nice. A new mini here. The ship is definitely going down. I don't know. These look like balloons. Maybe it's rising up. I don't know what's going on there. And then look at this thing. It's like a freaking scorpion arachnid thing with spikes, and I don't know what's going on. Looks super cool. I definitely like the whole Titan on the ground about to get like the crap eaten out of him. I think that's neat. It would have been cool to incorporate the webbing here, but I understand that how it wasn't. Either way, again, I love that we're still seeing new stuff and development, and like not just art, not just rendered changes, but whole renders, whole art. Deep dives into the mechanics. This is a great update, and I like seeing this kind of stuff, and I like the direction that they're going and the focus on gameplay. Guys, that's it for me. That's all I have. I think that's plenty for now. I'll obviously talk to you again as these come up. Obviously, I'll need one next week to cover the stuff that's launching next week, so we'll be looking at that. Again, I do have that Bardsung playthrough and interview that I will be publishing as well. So if you'd like to see any of that, or if you're interested in my December stuff, where I do a lot of top 10 lists, look back at the top 10 controversies of Kickstarter, my top 10 2021 games I'm looking forward to, my huge, massive upcoming 2021 board games. We're going to be talking about all sorts of cool Kickstarter goodness that's coming our way. If you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, I'll be doing a game award thing for Game of the Year and whatnot. Again, feel free to subscribe and hit that bell notification so that YouTube actually tells you when I publish a video instead of just subscribing and having it do nothing because YouTube doesn't care. And with that, I will let you guys go. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon.